Fellas, we're alive. There's our logo. And these are books. We've knocked off all these books, but that one on top, The Man with the Golden Gun, and then Octopussy and the Living Daylights, which is one book, is number 14. And then we'll have done all of these.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
They're fun though. I even just like going back through them. Like I want to reread them again. Just too many books to read all the time. We left off, fellas. Well, first off,
hold on. Before we do that, can we cheers?
Yeah. This was.
Cheers.
My camera's over there now.
Cheers to Nico.
Cheers.
Yeah, Nico.
Cheers to everyone.
For what did he send us? Danish
croutons.
Croutons? Danish croutons?
Something like that.
Dude, to Nico. Anyway, yeah, so I guess real quick, we are looking to it being 2023, our plan, we've talked about this in the past, but just it's happening now. We're killing off the Bond novels tonight because we want to start doing weekly shows just like this. We did that poll where everybody said Fridays are great. One of these three douchebags is always working Fridays/Saturdays, so we're probably going to land on Sundays, Sunday nights, just talking about a new release. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep that ranked list just like we've been doing with Bond, or like we'll do with other franchises in the future. And we'll just throughout the year, every weekend, we will add to that list. By the end of 2023, we'll have our top 50 movies. I'm sure there'll be stinkers or whatever. So it's not like it's like the best movies of the year, but it's our top 50 of the year. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We on top of that, we did. We've always just named this Two Brews because we just wanted to get together and live stream and have a couple of brews and laugh and talk about different movies other than Bond. And so now I don't think we'll call it that anymore. We're probably just going to call it Ranked 2023 or 2023 Ranked or whatever. Two Brews as a name is probably gone, but it'll forever live in our hearts. Whatever. So
it'll be back in one form or another, I'm sure.
I mean, we will be here. And it was insulting to Nans because it implied that there were only two bros drinking brews. So, yeah, but I mean, it was like a play on words that excluded you, Nans, and we need to stand by our Nans.
That's fine.
Stand by your Nans. Which, who made that? Was that SB who was showing off a T-shirt?
I think What's Her Face needs to be on that shirt, though.
Yeah.
And then
Mini Driver.
Take a hike somewhere else.
Oh my God, that'd be fantastic. But that's, if anybody wants to design that shirt, we will gladly slap it on a T-shirt or send us that design. We'll slap it on a T-shirt. Otherwise, do you guys have any housekeeping before we dive in? Oh, I gotta pull up so check this out. Check this. Now we can do stuff like this. Boom.
Oh. What's that?
That's a copy of The Man with the Golden Gun floating over your
it's
over
tiny.
my head.
Your bitch-ass face.
There we go.
Don't hurt that. Do not. I know you hate it. Do not hurt that. No. Well, that's the thing. The
hold on. Wait, Charlie.
What?
I can deflect it. I can deflect it with the aluminum hat. There you go.
It's stupidity waves will not enter your brain.
Stupidity waves will just go away. So go away.
I think I mentioned this before too. Before we get into it, because again we're finishing up Yolt, going into The Man with Golden Gun. Man with Golden Gun kind of sucks. The book kind of sucks.
The movie kind of sucks.
Obviously, a big fan of the movie, and then they really, as opposed to something like Yolt, where I read Yolt and I was like, this is great. Whoever said this was a boring travelogue? This is great. And then the movie is kind of meh, so
Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
You said that.
Anyway, you guys have anything to say, or shall I read Bond's obituary?
Anyone not in the Discord, first. Get in the Discord.
Well, I was going to say Joe Hahn.
Whatever else we have going
other
on.
Movie. I think it was Joe Hahn. Yeah, Joe Hahn was mentioning other movies. that we may watch. I was
Indiana
looking through the
Jones,
list.
June?
I was
mean,
looking through the
that's
list
probably a
today.
shoe-in, right?
There's a couple of movies in there that I was like, I didn't know that was coming out this year. Or movies that I was like, I don't know what this movie is. It sounds interesting. So
if anybody ever has any, like, hey,
there's
on,
a Wikipedia. If you go to the
They do?
Wikipedia for film, like film in 2023, I always do this every year. You can see kind of a rough, like, this is
Did
what's
they do
coming out.
streaming too? They do everything.
Theatrical.
It's not the streaming films.
Because
but,
good stuff comes out.
Nobody does it
on
with
streaming
everything
too.
Like even on IMDb, you look on that, and I think a user put together a streaming calendar, but otherwise it's nobody does it all, and that's where it's like if any of you are like, oh, this movie on whatever, like Pluto TV or something has some original movie, whatever. Like that's what's fun about this, is it not just sticking to whatever's coming out in theaters, because that's not where all the movies are.
Yeah, because I was looking at the but still, if you're watching what's coming out,
and we're obviously we're doing this live. We're not doing any,
no.
Obviously, there's no like overcuts of footage or whatever. We're just gonna watch.
We're just gonna talk about the movie
together and talk about them. Yeah, and then rank them.
Yeah, but like I was looking at the list, and apparently Ghostbusters, the next Ghostbusters is supposed to come out in December, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. I don't even think they've started production on that movie. So
yeah,
I'm like, if they can make it happen, I guess.
Well, maybe they'll put no time or effort into it and put it out.
Maybe it'll come out. I don't know. But it's supposed to come out the end of December, and I'm like, that'll get pushed back.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Anyway, Nance, I'm now that we have all these spiffy things I can do, like our old logo or all this crap, if you don't mind keeping an eye on chat, and
I'm watching.
I will read when it's time.
Am I able to submit a hyperlink to the Discord channel somewhere or somehow
for me to show?
Yeah, it's not in the description of the video.
Here.
And I don't know how to get it off Discord.
Where is it?
I don't know.
No, just in like where's the link?
I don't have it. I don't know how to get the link, and I don't know what the best way to share it is.
Considering I have no idea what you're talking about, I might just go into it, and then whenever you send it to me.
Is someone pissing?
I like normally that's
sitting
me
right next to yourself.
Not me.
Hey, Nico, you got it. Good. I was hoping you would.
No, I'm just pouring. I'm just pouring some.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
Oh, and that too. Going forward, like Nico, you're a hero. Going forward, any super chats are basically just paying for us to be on the StreamYard, which before we just had the free service, but now we're on the lowest level of the paid tier.
Now there's no dumb watermark thing on it.
Yeah, and there's like higher functionality, and now we'll be able to put the list in, right? Like I'll have the list between us. Like I can design a whole. Right now, I literally just have this and this.
It's beautiful.
But yeah. So if anybody out there wants to, if you guys continue to like watching and hanging out with us, if you want to super chat, even if you just send a handful of Danish croutons, it all just basically pays to allow us to keep doing it. So it's not exactly paying off car payments as of yet. So if you'd like to contribute, that's fantastic. But I just I'm like really excited to get going on new releases and just to dump all of my angst about how much I hate new movies into this microphone. So have somewhere to put my angst. But otherwise, you guys want to hear James Bond's obituary?
Sure. So wait, so recap, you said that this book takes place right after
this is Yult. This is still Yult. So Bond he just Blofeld and Bunt. He like lied to me. I think he went to bed before we finished. Actually, no, you stayed up and you drank way too much whiskey, and then Real
Never
quick, why don't you
again.
tell
Not
us?
do that again.
But
Yes.
why don't you tell us real quick what you
Oh,
did
you
the
gotta tell the
following
story.
morning?
Never
Three.
again. Okay.
Send that to
Don't
me. Can
buy
you spit that out
this.
to me? I'll
Don't
take it.
buy this. Okay. This
That
is
is
the
apple
worst
Crown
thing
Royal.
you can drink. Never again, ever drinking this.
But it's so
Worst
good.
hangover that
What'd
I've
you do?
had in a long time. Okay. So after that night,
Yeah, it came with a good story.
I actually had to go back because I was like, did I say something I shouldn't have said? I was worried. I was genuinely worried. So I went back and I was like, oh no, we cut the stream before that. And then we went to the Discord. And the next morning, I had to go my daughter had her Christmas play. So I had to get
You were
up,
that dad.
get dressed, put my sunglasses on, have a really strong coffee, some OJ, and then, some McDonald's. Got to have some McDonald's. I don't know
Yeah.
what other people have in their countries, but yes, some really
I
greasy
like that.
food. And then
I'm sure everyone has McDonald's.
watch kids sing Christmas songs out of tune. It was fun.
That's fantastic. You
So-
should have brought the apple crown with you.
Never again.
I'd
Never
have been that
again.
dad. You just sipping it in the
You
in
just
the
drink too
crowd.
much.
Did you
It's
shower
just
at least
too
so you didn't
sweet.
smell like booze?
It's
You can't cover
sweet.
that up. You can't
You
cover
can't-
that up.
It's
Yeah.
too sweet.
He
Like,
was
you can just.
sweating
How much did I drink? Oh my god, I drank way too much.
apple crown.
It's fantastic.
Never
Anyway,
drinking
so dad of the year right there. Oh, that
Never
was
drinking
something
that.
horrible you said. You said something really dumb. And you don't remember what it was. Somebody asked if you think Secret Service is better than Casino Royale, and you said, "Of course." And I mean, that's the
Okay.
dumbest thing that
Oh no.
we've ever reported
no.
here. So
Movies, who cares?
rut row. Anyway, so Bond just murked Blofeld and Bunt, and then he like flies off on a balloon, I think. Like he's holding on to like a balloon thing, I think, and like floats off into the ocean. That's how he escapes, and then it's implied that he dies. I'll just that's part's kind of brief. What was it all about? Bond didn't know or care. The pain in his head was his whole universe. Punctured by a bullet, the balloon was fast losing height. Below, the softly swelling sea offered a bed. Bond let go with hands and feet and plummeted down towards peace, towards the rippling feathers of some childhood dream of softness and escape from pain. So that was... So then, you turn the page and you're looking at the obituary, which I think, it's written by M, and it's interesting. The Times, Commander James Bond, CMG, RNVR. I don't know what those things are. M writes, as your readers will have learned from earlier issues, a senior officer of the Ministry of Defense, Commander James Bond, CMG, RNVR, is missing, believed killed, while on an official mission to Japan. It grieves me to have to report that hopes of his survival must now be abandoned. It therefore falls to my lot, as the head of the department he served so well, to give some account of this officer and of his outstanding services to his country. James Bond was born of a Scottish father, Andrew Bond, of Glencoe, and a Swiss mother, Monique Delacroix, from the canton de Vaud. I'll probably butcher all this stuff. His father being a foreign representative of the Vickers armaments firm, his early education, from which he inherited a first-class command of French and German, was entirely abroad. When he was 11 years of age, both his parents were killed in a climbing accident in the Aiguilles Rouges above Chamonix.
Sucks, doesn't it?
This being French stuff, it might as well
It
just
sucks, doesn't it?
Aiguilles Rouges above Chamois, and the youth came under the guardianship of
We have
an
lost
aunt.
all of our French viewership now.
Yeah, guardianship of an aunt since deceased, Miss Charmaine Bond, and went to live with her at the quaintly named hamlet of Pet Bottom near Canterbury in Kent. There, in a small cottage hard by the attractive Duck Inn, his aunt, who must have been a most erudite and accomplished lady, completed his education for an English public school, and at the age of 12 or thereabouts, he passed satisfactorily into Eton, for which college he had been entered at birth by his father. It must be admitted that his career at Eton was brief and undistinguished, and after only 2 halves, as a result, it pains me to record, of some alleged trouble with one of the boy's maids, his aunt was requested to remove him. She managed to obtain his transfer to Fett's. There's no way I'm saying all this right. His father's old school. Here, the atmosphere was somewhat Calvinistic, and both academic and athletic standards were rigorous. Nevertheless, though inclined to be solitary by nature, he established some firm friendships among the traditionally famous athletic circles at the school. By the time he left at the early age of 17, he had twice fought for the school as a lightweight and had, in addition, founded the first serious judo class at a British public school. By now it was 1941, and by claiming an age of 19 and with the help of an old vicar's colleague of his father, he entered a branch of what was subsequently to become the Ministry of Defense. To serve the confidential nature of his duties, he was accorded the rank of lieutenant in the special branch of the RNVR. And it is a measure of the satisfaction his services gave to his superiors that he ended the war with the rank of commander. It was about this time that the writer became associated with certain aspects of the ministry's work. And it was with much gratification that I accepted Commander Bond's post-war application to continue working for the ministry, in which, at the time of his lamented disappearance, he had risen to the rank of principal officer in the civil service. The nature of Commander Bond's duties with the ministry which were incidentally recognized by the appointment of CMG. So again, CMG, RNVR,
Johan
Commander.
expanded on those in the comments.
Nice, bring it.
So letters CMG refer back to the novel From Russia with Love, in which we read that James Bond was made a companion in the Order of St. Michael and St. George in 1954. RNVR is Royal Navy Naval Volunteer Reserve.
Okay.
So the Order of St. Michael and St. George, CMG, a British order of chivalry founded in 1818. It is a distinction that is mostly reserved for members of the military or people who work in public service.
Cool. RNVR CMG. The nature of Commander Bond's duties
Thank you,
in
Joe.
the ministry, which were incidentally recognized by the appointment of CMG in 1954, must remain confidential, nay, secret. But his colleagues at the ministry will allow that he performed them with outstanding bravery and distinction, although occasionally, through an impetuous strain in his nature, with a streak of the foolhardy that brought him in conflict with higher authority. But he possessed what almost amounted to the Nelson touch in moments of the highest emergency, and he somehow contrived to escape more or less unscathed from the many adventurous paths down which his duties led him. The inevitable publicity, particularly in the foreign press, accorded some of these adventures, made him, much against his will, something of a public figure, which we kind of talked about. It's like in the beginning, nobody knows Bond, but over time, he does have this reputation within the spy world, of course. But then even here, something of a public figure, like even outside of that, which is interesting, with the inevitable result that a series of popular books came to be written around him by a personal friend and former colleague of James Bond. I'm going to read that again. The inevitable publicity, particularly in the foreign press, accorded some of these adventures, made him, much against his will, something of a public figure, with the inevitable result that a series of popular books came to be written around him by a personal friend and former colleague of James Bond. If the quality of these books or their degree of veracity had been any higher, the author would certainly have been prosecuted under the Official Secrets Act. It is a measure of the disdain in which these fictions are held at the ministry that action has not yet, I emphasize the qualification, been taken against the author and publisher of these high-flown and romanticized caricatures of episodes in the career of an outstanding public servant, which, again, I urge everybody to read the authorized biography of James Bond, which kind of takes that couple of sentences and runs with it, right? Where it's like this biographer we follow this biographer who's hired by the British government to write, like, to go meet old James Bond and write his biography. It's a fun book. It only remains to conclude this brief in memoriam by assuring his friends that Commander Bond's last mission was one of supreme importance to the state. Although it now appears that, alas, he will not return from it, I have the authority of the highest quarters in the land to confirm that the mission proved 100% successful. Blofeld dead. And then by killing Blofeld, Tiger, I think, Tanaka agreed to share intel with the Western powers or something. So that's fun. Where was I? It is no exaggeration to pronounce unequivocally that through the recent valorous efforts of this one man, the safety of the realm has received mighty reassurance. James Bond was briefly married in 1962 to Teresa, only daughter of Marc Ang Draco of Marseille. The marriage ended in tragic circumstances that were reported in the press at the time. There was no issue of the marriage, and James Bond leaves, so far as I'm aware, no relative living. MG writes, I was happy and proud to serve Commander Bond in a close capacity during the past 3 years at the Ministry of Defense. Michelob Light coming out of my face. If indeed, no, Michelob Ultra.
Oh, yeah.
If indeed our fears for him are justified, may I suggest these simple words for his epitaph. Many of the junior staff here feel they represent his philosophy. I shall not waste my days in trying to prolong them. I shall use my time. Certainly sounds like JB. That's his whole obit, fellers. So then, this is like this. It really is the last chapter of Yolt. He's just living with Kissy Suzuki, who, I'm pretty sure she pulled him out of the ocean. She rescued him, and then he has he can't remember anything, and so she's desperately trying to trick him into believing he's Japanese, so that he'll stay with her forever.
I forget. Did he have surgery in the books, or in the book?
No.
Okay.
There was no, dyeing his pubes or anything like that.
Did he remove the mirrors from the house and not let her go outside, or
I think
how
so.
could she convince her that he's
she did everything she could to just be like, like, stay with me. I love you so much. And then I probably highlighted it, but basically he's just like, I need to get out of here. And he I think he rows to Russia. He's like, I just need to go row to Russia. So she's like, okay, bye. Just Russia's that way. It's kind of hilarious. Winter came, and the Amma had to stay ashore and turn their hands to mending nets and boats and working on the small holdings on the mountainside. And Bond came back into the house and made himself useful with carpentry and odd jobs and learning Japanese from Kissy. The glazed look went from his eyes, but they remained remote and far away, and every night he was puzzled by dreams of a quite different world of white people and big cities and half-remembered faces. But Kissy assured him that these were just nightmares, such as she had, and that they had no meaning. And gradually Bond came to accept the little stone and wood house and the endless horizon of sea as his finite world. That sounds great. Kissy was careful to keep him away from the south coast of the island and dreaded the day when fishing would begin again at the end of May, and he would see the great black wall across the straits, and memory might come flooding back. Which, again, we kind of hinted at the end of the Die Another Day episode. It's like, wouldn't that be great if they just did something like that? They crash in the ocean. Him and Halle Berry are basically just mentally retarded at that point, and they just live on an island in happiness, just like amnesia. And then there'd be some kind of ending to the character, but instead of Die Another Day had no ending to the series. It was just same old. But he continues, but there was one thing that greatly distressed Kissy. From the first night in the cave, she had shared Bond's futon, and when he was well and back in the house, she waited every night for him to make love to her. But while he kissed her occasionally and often held her hand, his body seemed totally unaware of her. However, much she pressed herself against him and even caressed him with her hands. Had the wound made him impotent? She consulted the doctor, but he said that there could be no connection, although it was just possible that he had forgotten how to perform the act of love. His amnesia is so bad, he doesn't remember his stroke. So one day, Kissy Suzuki announced that she was going to take the weekly mailboat to Fukuoka to do some shopping. And in the big city, she found her way to the local sex shop called the Happy Shop. That is a feature of all self-respecting Japanese towns. Nance, is this true? And told her problem to the wicked-looking old
Couldn't tell
graybeard behind the innocent counter containing nothing more viciously alluring than tonics and contraceptives.
I'm thinking it's Fukuoka, though, right?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Fukuoka. Yeah. What did I say?
Okay.
Fukuoka. I highlighted this like 2 pages, so this better be good. Yes. Okay, wait, yeah. He asked her if she possessed 5,000 yen, which is a lot of money. And when she said she did, he locked the street door and invited her to the back of the shop. The sex merchant bent down and pulled out from beneath a bench what looked like a small wired rabbit hutch. He put this on the bench, and Kissy saw that it contained 4 large toads on a bed of moss. Next, he produced a metal contraption. Contraption. I got sex on the brain. Produced a metal contraption that had the appearance of a hot plate with a small wire cage in the middle. He carefully lifted out one of the toads and placed it inside the cage so that it squatted on the metal surface. Then he hauled a large car battery onto the bench, put it alongside the hot plate, and attached wires from one to the other. Then he spoke some encouraging endearments to the toad and stood back. The toad began to shiver slightly, and the crosses in the dark red eyes blazed angrily at Kissy as if it knew it was all her fault. The sex merchant, his head bent over the little cage, watched anxiously and then rubbed his hands with satisfaction as heavy beads of sweat broke out all over the toad's boardy skin. He reached for an iron teaspoon and a small file, gently raised the wire cage, and very carefully scraped the sweat beads off the toad's body and dripped the result into the file. When he had finished, the file contained about half a teaspoon of a clear liquid. He corked it up and handed it to Kissy, who held it with reverence and great care as if it had been a fabulous jewel. Then the sex merchant disconnected the wires and put the toad, which seemed none the worse for its experience, back in the hutch and closed the top. He turned to Kissy and bowed. When this valuable product is desired by a sincere customer, I always ask them to witness the process of distillation. Otherwise, they might harbor the unworthy thought that the file contained only water from the tap, but you have now seen that this preparation is authentic. Sweat of the toad. Hang on. Okay. I had skipped something about Bond's amnesia being total. Anyway. So Kissy spent a long time doing her hair. Yeah, skipping things. Something about sex merchant.
What's happening with this toad?
So he's got like toad sweat, and like maybe it'll give Bond a boner. I don't know. Kissy the Japanese do stuff like that. Like, don't they eat like tiger bones to get erections?
No, you're thinking
like
Chinese people.
Chinese people do that? Okay.
Totally. Every single Chinese person does it.
Can you explain the difference between Japanese and Chinese? I'm so ignorant. No, sorry, moving on. Kissy spent a long time doing her hair and making herself pretty before her heart beat like a captured bird. She joined him. He looked up from the pillow book and laughed. Kissy, where in God's name did you get this? She giggled. Oh, that? I forgot to tell you. Some dreadful man tried to make up to me in one of the shops. Make up to me in one of the shops? He pressed that into my hand and made an assignation for this evening. Assignation? I agreed just to get rid of him. It is what we call a pillow book. Lovers use them. Aren't the pictures exciting? So Bond's looking through porn. Bond threw off his kimono. He pointed to the soft futon on the floor. He said fiercely, Kissy, take off your clothes and lie down there. We'll start at page 1. Fantastic. So it's like the Kama Sutra. And then apparently from there, I didn't highlight anything more. But from there, I think he just bangs. They go through the whole book together. And then Bond's like, all right, I got to go to Russia. I just have to row to Russia. And then that ends and Man with the Golden Gun starts, which Man with the Golden Gun actually has a really fabulous opening that I think I went through on one of these streams before. Real quick though, there's a bunch of quotes at the outset, and this one from Raymond Chandler is Bond is what every man would like to be and what every woman would like to have between her sheets, which
Yep.
I go off on a long talk in the casino episode about just that, talking about all the Bonds.
I hope you edit it down or out.
Out? Just don't talk about it at all. Anyway, I apparently didn't highlight what she did with the. I think I mean people like smoke toads and stuff to basically trip. Like maybe that was like DMT
Well,
or
that's what
something.
I thought was happening.
Yeah.
was-
Yeah. So
No, I was reading on the old Wikipedias because you got to know it's true. What was I reading? I was basically that this book came out like pretty much right after Dr. No, because he started writing this after Dr. No, but that doesn't make sense because I'm pretty sure he passed away in between from Russia and Goldfinger. So I don't.
the movies.
Yeah, the movies. Sorry.
Yeah,
But
and then Dr. No is like the 6th book.
yeah, but I guess he started writing this after Dr. No had come out, so he wanted to put some of the Sean Connery isms in the book. So I don't know if you got that out of the book as you were reading it.
Roger Moore. Wait, say that again. Roger Moore.
Not Roger Moore. Sorry, Sean Connery.
Yeah. And that was like reading his obituary, talking
Yeah.
about him being, from Scotland and stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's where that all, because you mentioned that I think in the first episode. I'm trying to skim this and see if she put this in Bond's food or something, and I think she does. I think she puts the toad sweat in his food.
But also
Yeah,
also
she
listening
does.
to this, the other thing I was curious about, and I was trying to see if there was any, I don't know, any evidence for this, but did Ian Fleming get to a point where he was getting tired of writing Bond novels, much in the same way as like Arthur Conan Doyle got tired of writing Sherlock Holmes and decided to kill the character off, and then at the last minute was like, nope, never mind, I'm gonna keep the character going.
Well, that's what people say about
You know what I mean?
From Russia with Love, that when he's stabbed by Klebb with the knife shoe at the end,
Yeah.
and then passes out, that was him killing Bond, and then for whatever reason he wanted to keep it going, whether money or otherwise, or just had ideas,
Okay.
and kept it going from there, because
It just seems weird if you're going to write an obituary to a fictional character, and then you said like that was one chapter, and then there was one more chapter after that, and that's when you find out he's still alive. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's because you only live twice. It's the 12th book. I think I have my numbers right. 12th book. Kills Blofeld, obituary, and then he's living with Kissy, which again, I mean, just sounds like. I mean, you read through it and you're like, this is the life. Like Bond should have just retired and just stayed with Kissy Suzuki forever, and would have been great. But for some, I mean, and she let him, like, again, he's like, I gotta go to Russia. And then he's in like a tiny rowboat with oars, and he just rows to Russia. It's hysterical.
And then it also kind of reminds me of like the beginning of Skyfall, right? Like after the opening sequence, he's on the island. And then he's just,
just
drinking,
do that if he wants.
Scorpions, drinking, doing all of that. So it's like, you could see how this book was very inspirational. And I know like everyone's going to say, oh yeah, well, there's a bunch of No Time to Die stuff in it. I'm like, yeah, it's probably because they used a lot of stuff for No Time to Die.
No doubt.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right,
We talked about that. We talked about that the last
from
time.
No Time to Die.
So,
What's that?
okay. So
Someone commented, unknown cake lover commented that a poem, I'm assuming Charlie read at some point, was in No Time to Die.
Yeah.
So I mean, and again, the whole Death Castle, Poison Castle thing, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all you'll.
That's all No Time to Die.
Okay, so the first paragraph from The Man with Golden Gun. The Secret Service holds much that is kept secret, even from even from very senior officers in the organization. Only M and his chief of staff know absolutely everything there is to know. The latter is responsible for keeping the top secret record known as the War Book, so that in the event of the death of both of them, the whole story, apart from what is available to individual sections and stations, would be available to their successors. One thing that James Bond, for instance, didn't know was the machinery at headquarters for dealing with the public, whether friendly or otherwise, drunks, lunatics, bona fide applications to join the service, and enemy agents with plans for penetration or even assassination. So, and we I think we kind of get like a little day-to-day here. And I believe it's like this whole first chapter is just like Bond is coming back, and he's like calling the right people, like, hey, I'm going to come back. And it's like, you're alive? Yeah. And so they're like, this is weird, but you can't just walk in the front door. You kind of got to throw up a white flag, like, hey, everybody, I'm coming back. All right, moving forward. Such was the ultimate sieve, which sorted out the wheat from the chaff from those members of the public who desired access to the Secret Service. So yeah, they go through everything I just mentioned. There were other people in the building who dealt with the letters, those written in pencil or in multicolored inks, and those enclosed a photograph remained unanswered. Those which threatened or were litigious were referred to the special branch. The solid, serious ones were passed, with a comment from the best graphologist in the business, to the liaison section at headquarters for further action. Parcels went automatically and fast to the bomb disposal squad at the Knightsbridge barracks. The eye of the needle was narrow. On the whole, it discriminated appropriately. It was an expensive setup, but it is the first duty of a Secret Service to remain not only secret, but secure. So it's just showing like it's hard to get in there, be it mail or otherwise. There was no reason why James Bond, who had always been on the operative side of the business, should know anything about the entrails of the service, any more than he should have understood the mysteries of the plumbing or electricity supply of his flat in Chelsea, or the working of his own kidneys. Funny if he said liver. Colonel Boris, however, had known the whole routine. The Secret Services of all the great powers know the public face of their opponents, and Colonel Boris had very accurately described the treatment that James Bond must expect before he was cleared and was allowed access to the office of his former chief. So he wants to go talk to M. He's been dead for a while, resurrection. The need for East and West to work together for world peace. Is somebody speaking? I'm going to go to the beginning of the paragraph. They were very nice to me in every way. So Bond's talking about the Russians treating well. They were very nice to me in every way, sir. It seemed the least I could do. There was this institute place in Leningrad. They gave me VIP treatment, top brain specialists and everything. They didn't seem to hold it against me that I'd been working against them for most of my life. And other people came and talked to me very reasonably about the political situation and so forth. The need for East and West to work together for world peace. They made clear a lot of things that hadn't occurred to me before. They quite convinced me. Bond looked obstinately across the table into the clear blue sailor's eyes that now held a red spark of anger. I don't suppose you understand what I mean, sir. You've been making war against someone or other all your life. You're doing so at this moment. It's so like Bond's like a hippie now. He may or may not be a brainwashed hippie. And for most of my adult life, you've used me as a tool. Fortunately, that's all over now. M said fiercely, it certainly is. I suppose, among other things, you've forgotten is reading reports of our POWs in the Korean War who were brainwashed by the Chinese. If the Russians are so, those Chinese or Japanese people, Nance. If the Russians are so keen on peace, what do they need the KGB for? At the last estimate, that was about 100,000 men and women making war, as you call it, against us and other countries. This is the organization that was so charming to you in Leningrad. Did they happen to mention the murder of Horcher and Stutz in Munich last month? Oh, yes, sir. Bond's voice was patient, equable. They have to defend themselves against the secret services of the West. If you would demobilize all this, Bond waved a hand, they would be only too delighted to scrap the KGB. They were quite open about it all. It's so funny. It's literally just Bond's like this pacifist, and M's just sitting there fuming because Bond's like, if we got rid of our military, they'd get rid of their military. Like, it's just, he sounds like George Lazenby, who smoked too much dope after making Secret Service. And this same thing applies to their 200 divisions and their U-boat fleet and their ICBMs, I suppose. M's voice rasped. Of course, sir. Well, if you found these people so reasonable and charming, why didn't you stay there? That's great. Others have. Burgess is dead, but you could have chummed up with McLean. We thought it more important that I should come back and fight for peace here, sir. You and your agents have taught me certain skills for use in the underground war. It was explained to me how these skills could be used in the cause of peace. I mean, it's hilarious. Like, this is James Bond. So I didn't highlight it, but just basically what happens is, basically what happens is Bond tries to kill M. Like, he pulls out, I think, like a gun that shoots like a acid or something, and
Frog
or
sweat?
like a cyanide, and M hits a button that makes a glass shield shoot down in front of them, and then they had security waiting in the wings, like just outside the door, to rush in and tackle Bond, who again has been brainwashed by the Russians to take out the head of British Secret Service. It's like, damn, and that's again like another tragedy of these movies, this whole franchise being a mess, is that they couldn't use something like this, because I don't know how they would have, because You Only Live Twice was supposed to be after Secret Service, and then this, like, because it's all out of whack, they couldn't do this fun stuff. But like, that's like super spy stuff right there, other than the fact that, as we've talked about, they didn't want to completely demonize the Russians during the Cold War, so it would have had to be like, this is Spectre or Smersh or something doing this. But yeah, Bond tries to kill M. It's just fascinating.
And this is in The Man with the Golden Gun?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So again, Kissy let him go.
That
Stupid ass
Pepper.
Kissy let him row to Russia. And
This seems ridiculous.
tried to kill
I
M.
feel like that would have been a better Man with the Golden Gun movie to start off with. That just sounds awesome.
I agree. I love that opening, but how do you?
That sounds cool.
how
You
do
know
you
what? It's
connect
funny
that,
though.
you
It's
know?
like, I feel like didn't Mission Impossible do something similar to that, as far as Tom Cruise's character, Ethan Hunt, doing things like that to the whatever, I don't even remember the name of their organization, but
he doesn't like somebody gets brainwashed or what?
I don't know if the movie starts off where he's actually like going against them or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't recall. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, that would be cool if Bond was trying to. But yeah, that would have been something. Yes,
it would have been
Possible
fantastic.
Mission
Yeah.
Force.
I mean, that's
IMF,
something
thank you.
more like like Die Another Day. Bond was brainwashed by the Koreans or whatever. Like that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that would have been where they would have had
Because
to
it's
do
not,
that.
like, when
they
did,
would have to lay that out.
When did The Manchurian Candidate come out? Like
70s?
60?
I don't know.
No, it was in the 60s.
Late 60s. I don't know.
Yeah, but it was like kind of during the time when. Now I got to look this up because I feel like he stole the idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna read this paragraph. So let us
You
know.
You can read.
Miss Moneypenny brought in the signals and stood dutifully beside him while he went through them, occasionally dictating a comment or a query. She looked down at the bowed iron gray head with the bald patch polished for years by a succession of naval caps, and wondered, as she had wondered so often over the past 10 years, whether she loved or hated this man. One thing was certain: she respected him more than any man she had known or had read of. That's cute. Moneypenny talking about M. Did you figure it out?
About Manchurian Candidate?
SP said 62. Or
It
Joe,
came out. The
Johan
book came
said
out.
62.
Yeah, but the book came out in 59. So
Okay.
it
So
is-
Manchurian Candidate stole from Ian Fleming. Even though
Or
brainwashing isn't,
Fleming would
but-
have stolen by this point. Fleming would have stolen from Manchurian Candidate because the book had already been out. So he could have read the book and be like, "That would be interesting if Bond got brainwashed and tried."
Oh, the Manchurian Candidate book.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So the book
Okay.
came out before, so there's a possibility he may have plagiarized.
Yeah, but
It
I
all
mean-
makes sense. Kevin McClory was right. We're all wrong.
yeah. McClory is an unsung hero. He may never say never again. All right, Francisco Paco. So they never called him Paco in the movie, of course, but Francisco Pistol Scaramanga. And underneath in lowercase type, freelance assassin, mainly under KGB. So reading his dossier, mainly under KGB control through DSS, Havana, Cuba, but often as an independent operator for other organizations in the Caribbean and Central American states. So yeah, he's a Central American fella. Has caused widespread damage, particularly to the SS, but also to CIA. I think SS is in Secret Service and not like the Nazis. But also wouldn't that be great? What a movie that would be. The Man with the Golden Gun versus Nazis. But also to CIA and other friendly. Oh, wouldn't that be great if his golden gun was made out of Nazi gold? Oh, fun movie.
Oh,
Fun movie.
They would have messed up there.
Yeah, and other
They
friendly
could have done
services.
it too.
They could have. Yeah.
You
But if
know,
he teams up with Goldfinger to go in there and smuggle gold and
they're already hiring
make
Nazi
bullets
actors.
and yeah. And other friendly services by murder and scientific maiming. Since 1959, the year when Castro came to power, and which seems also to have been the trigger for Scaramanga's operations, is widely feared and admired in said territory throughout which he appears, despite police precautions, to have complete freedom of access. Has thus become something of a local myth and is known in his territory as the Man with the Golden Gun, a reference to his main weapon, which is a gold-plated, long-barreled, single-action Colt 45. There's like this weird Western theme throughout this movie. So yeah, he's got a Colt 45, instead of the really cool, I mean, like good call. What's his name? Who
Does he
wrote
have
the
two
movie?
zigzags?
Who like took it apart and put it on his body. It's just cool. He uses special bullets with a heavy, soft 24-karat gold core jacketed with silver and cross-cut at the tip on the dum-dum principle for maximum wounding effect. Himself loads and artifices this ammunition, is responsible for the death of 267 British Guiana, 398 Trinidadians, 943 Jamaicans, and 768 and 742 Cubans, and for the maiming and subsequent retirement from the SS of 098 area inspection officer by bullet wound in both knees. See above reference. Blah, 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 blah. Description: age about 35, height 6'3", slim and fit, eyes light brown. Why did I highlight this? Hair reddish and crew cut, long sideburns, gone. Probably to bug you. This is all Man the Golden Gun, bitch. Somber face with thin pencil mustache, brownish ears, very flat to the head, ambidextrous, hands very large and powerful and immaculately manicured. Distinguishing marks: a third nipple about 2 inches below his left breast. NB in voodoo and allied local cults. This is considered a sign of invulnerability and great sexual prowess. Is an insatiable but indiscriminate womanizer who invariably has sexual intercourse shortly before killing in the brief that improves his eye. NB, a belief shared by many professional lawn tennis players, golfers, gun and rifle marksmen, and others. Origins: a relative of the Catalan family of circus managers of the same name with whom he spent his youth. Self-educated at the age of 16 after the incident described below, emigrated illegally to the United States, where he lived a life of petty crime on the fringes of the gangs until he graduated as a full-time gunman for the Spangled Mob in Nevada, which in Diamonds Are Forever, the book, Bond goes head-to-head with the Spangled Mob. In Nevada with the cover of Pit Boy in the casino of the Tiara Hotel in Las Vegas, where in fact he acted as executioner of cheats and other transgressors within and outside the mob.
So wait, you're saying He's talking about the mob in Diamonds Are Forever, correct?
The Spangled Mob, like the Spangled Brothers.
Yeah,
that was just the
but
name
that's
of
used
their.
in the movie.
Is it
Yeah,
Diamonds Are
'cause-
Forever?
Yeah, because remember in Diamonds,
Yeah,
remember
the
Diamonds Are Forever.
I Got a
they,
Brada, like those
Yeah,
gangsters.
they took the gangsters. They basically said, "Okay, we're gonna put Blofeld in this movie," and then they took the gangsters and made them kind of cronies.
But
And
did they call them the Spangled Mob?
I don't think they do. But
Okay.
what I find funny about that is that if you remember, like there are times when you watch these movies in order, you realize like, oh, they are connected, like very sort of connected, because there's usually sometimes a character pops up in a previous movie, like the sheriff from The Man with from You Only Live Twice shows up in The Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh, not
The
yet.
guy in the beginning of The Man with the Golden Gun is the mobster from one of the mobsters from Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah.
So I think that's
And
funny.
the
that's in
idea
book.
was that he is the same character, right? It's not
Yeah,
like the same
yeah,
actor. The idea is it is the exact same
He's
character.
supposed to be. I'm pretty sure they meant to that be the same character.
Yeah. So what you're saying, it's interesting that
That
here
they talk about it
in
in
the
this book.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like he hit up an old buddy of his, like, hey, want to have a weekend getaway where we murder each other?
Yeah.
Most Dangerous Game style.
Do that. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Scott Nans and I are gonna go up to the cabin in the woods, and
Oh yeah.
we might just murder each other. That could happen.
Have
You know,
fun.
if you want to come, McCurdy.
When?
The
Do you have the address? Can you put it in the
the
can you put it in the
19th?
chat?
Yeah. Put the address in the chat. We're all going. We're gonna have a murder fest. It's gonna be great. Be like
That's
we can make a
actually-
horror movie. We could make a real life horror movie. Just
About-
everybody bring a camera, and we'll just live stream. Everybody live stream like from GoPros on their heads, and we'll just murder each other, like
And
just
then-
last man standing.
And do live stream. We live stream it, and
Yeah.
then they put odds. Like we
Do you
have
know how
like,
many people would
running odds.
watch that?
Oh
How
my
many?
God.
Like the whole globe would be watching us.
We are
just-
giving somebody in the chat some really bad ideas. SB, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, SB.
Yeah, dude. SB, you gotta watch out for that fucking
Maybe
guy.
Nico. I don't know. I don't know what they do in Denmark.
Just
so.
hiding in the trees, to be the last camping. You just know SB's a camper, just waiting for everybody else to kill everybody else off, and then he moves in for the final kill.
Oh my God.
I have
Lock your
wrote-
doors.
I have wrote CC. Can't remember who CC is.
You're essentially pitching Liberty City Survivor from GTA 3.
Oh. No, nothing new under the sun. I have wrote CC to make on this man's alleged sexual potency when seen in relation to his profession. It is a Freudian thesis with which I am inclined to agree that the pistol, whether in the hands of an amateur or of a professional gunman, has significance for the owner as a symbol of virility, an extension of the male organ, and that excessive interest in guns, e.g., gun collections and gun clubs, cover your ears, AJ, is a form of fetishism. The partiality is AJ here?
No, he's not.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
The partiality, whenever he chats with us, he has a big gun collection like in his background.
It's a little scary.
Aren't they? They're all
A little
pretty simple,
worrisome.
though, right? So
Little do
it's
I
a
know.
fetish. It's a fetish. It's like
Little do I know that half our viewing base has got gun collections. I'm like,
and
oh,
dude, it's above his
okay.
bed, so it's totally like
legit.
it's a fetish. Like this, so far, this Freudian thing checks out for AJ. The partiality of Scaramanga for a particularly showy variation of weapon and his use of silver and gold bullets clearly point, I think, to his being a slave to this fetish. And if I'm right, I have doubts about his alleged sexual prowess, for the lack of which his gun fetish would be either a substitute or a compensation. I have also noted from a profile of this man in Time magazine one fact which supports my thesis that Scaramanga may be sexually abnormal. In listing his accomplishments, Time notes, but does not comment upon the fact that this man cannot whistle. Okay. Now, it may only be myth, and it is certainly not medical science, but there is a popular theory that a man who cannot whistle has homosexual tendencies. Okay, yeah. Go ahead, McCurdy.
McCurdy.
But
What am I doing? I didn't hear what you said. I didn't hear what you said, so no.
Both of us immediately started whistling because what I just read is that apparently, according to this book, if you can't whistle, you're a homosexual.
If you can't whistle, you're homosexual.
And you have yet to whistle, but I'm going to move on. Now, it may only be a myth. Oh, there it is. Now, it may only be a myth, and it is certainly not medical science. Oh, wait, no. I already hit that. At this point, the reader may care to experiment and from his self-knowledge help to prove or disprove this item of folklore. CC. I can't remember who CC is. M hadn't, that's not very good night. No. M hadn't whistled since he was a boy. Unconsciously, his mouth pursed and a clear note was emitted. So even M's like, he uttered an impatient cha and continued with his reading. That's hilarious. Yeah, like M's just by himself, like, I did it. So I would not be surprised to learn that Scaramanga is not the Casanova of popular fantasy. Passing to the wider implications of gunmanship, we enter the realms of the Adlerian power urge as compensation for the inferiority complex. And here I will quote some well-turned phrases of a certain M. Harold L. Peterson as preface to this finely illustrated The Book of the Gun, published by Paul Hamelin. Mr. Peterson writes, in the vast array of things man is invented to better his condition, few have fascinated him more than the gun. Its function is simple, as Oliver Winchester said, with 19th century complacency. A gun is a machine for throwing balls, but its ever-increasing efficiency in performing this task and its awesome ability to strike home from long range have given it tremendous psychological appeal. For possession of a gun and the skill to use it enormously augments the gunner's personal power and extends the radius of his influence and effect 1,000 times beyond his arm's length. And since strength resides in the gun, the man who wields it may be less than strong without being disadvantaged. The flashing sword, the couched lance, the bent longbow perform to the limit of the man who held it. The gun's power is inherent and needs only to be released. A steady eye and an accurate aim are enough.
The great equalizer.
Exactly. Where again, that's where I'm always like, I don't understand how every woman doesn't have a gun on her 24/7, but for some reason they're both anti-gun and all about like rape culture and stuff. I'm like, the answer's right there at the gun shop. Wherever the muzzle points, the bullet goes, bearing the gunner's wish or intention swiftly to the target. Perhaps more than any other implement, the gun has shaped the course of nations and the destiny of men. CC commented, in the Freudian thesis, his arm's length would become the length of the masculine organ, but we need not linger over these esoterica. So the gun's a dick. It's a big golden dick. One must forget the bad and remember the good. What were a couple of hours of heat and boredom in this island compared with memories of Bow Desert and Honey Rider?
Can you say that again?
Oh, he's talking about Honey Rider. So I just skipped forward several pages. Bond is in the Caribbean now. Is he? I think he's in Jamaica. Yeah, he's in Jamaica, of course.
Why wouldn't he be?
Exactly. One must forget the bad and remember the good. What were a couple of hours of heat and boredom in this island compared with memories of Bow Desert and Honey Rider and his survival against the mad Dr. No? James Bond smiled to himself as the dusty pictures clicked across his brain. How long ago it all was. What had happened to her? She never wrote. The last he had heard, she had 2 children by the Philadelphia doctor she had married. So, yeah, it's cool. He's just in Jamaica, just being like, remember that time I banged that naked chick that came out of the water with the knife? It was a good time. It was a good time.
Wow.
Remember the way he killed Dr. No? He dumped a whole bunch of
iguana.
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 Ton of iguanas.
Iguanas.
He drowned in iguanas. Be fantastic. But yeah, killed him with guano. It's just guano. It's great. It's great. That's really why you got to read these books, because it's like I'm always saying. It's I'm a big proponent of watch the movie first and then read the book, because then you're not disappointed by the inevitable. Oh, it wasn't as good as a novel. It's more like you watch the movie, and then when you read it, it kind of expands on it, and you can really sit with it. And then there's just it's like accessing deleted scenes. You know, like whatever happened to Honey Child Rider. You know, there was the customary what?
You say Honey Child. It's like
Honey
why?
Child. That's her name, Honey Child Rider. There was a customary central display stand holding messages for incoming and outgoing passengers. As usual, Bond wondered whether there would be something for him. In all his life, there never had been. Automatically, he ran his eye over the scattered envelopes held under tape beneath each parent letter. Nothing under B, nothing under his alias H for Hazard. Mark of the Hazard Mark? So Mark, okay. So Bond's alias is Mark Hazard. That's a little goofy. Of the Trans World Consortium, successor to the old Universal Export that had recently been discarded as cover for the Secret Service. So no longer Universal Exports. Kind of sad. He asked for Commander Ross. After a moment, a girl's voice came on the line. Commander Ross's assistant. Can I help you? There was something vaguely familiar in the lilt of the voice. Bond said, could I speak to Commander Ross? This is a friend from London. The girl's voice became suddenly alert. I'm afraid Commander Ross is away from Jamaica. Is there anything I can do? There was a pause. What name did you say? I didn't say any name, but in fact, the voice broke in excitedly. Don't tell me. It's James. Bond laughed. Well, I'm damned. It's good night. What the hell are you doing here? It's your favorite, McCurdy. More or less what I used to do for you. I heard you were back, but I thought you were ill or something. How absolutely marvelous. But where are you talking from? Kingston Airport. Now listen, darling, I need help. We can talk later. Can you get cracking? So, I mean, then like Mary Goodnight is adorable in this. So another reason to read it. He would now be Mark Hazard of the Trans World Consortium, this splendidly vague title, which could cover almost any kind of human activity. So when he's meeting Francisco Scaramanga, my name's Hazard, Mark Hazard. It's just goofy.
Danger powers.
Exactly. It's like we talked about Remington Steele. It's not that far off the mark. Scaramanga was sitting beside the chauffeur. He said impatiently, "Get in the back, lift you down to your car, then follow along. It gets a good road after a while." So this is after they've met. James Bond got into the car behind Scaramanga and wondered whether to shoot the man now in the back of the head. The old Gestapo KGB point of puncture. A mixture of reasons prevented him. The itch of curiosity, an inbuilt dislike of cold murder, which we talk about a lot. Bond doesn't like. Bond's like, I'd rather face off against the guy than just kill him like this, The feeling that this was not the predestined moment. The likelihood that he would have to murder the chauffeur also. These, combined with the softness of the night and the fact that the sound system was now playing a good recording of one of his favorites, a song After You've Gone, and that cicadas were singing from the lignum vitae tree, said no. But at that moment, as the car coasted down the love lane towards the bright mercury of the sea, James Bond knew that he was not only disobeying orders, or at best dodging them, he was also being a bloody fool. So that's one of those things where this is what we talk about with the whole keeping Bond alive segment is why not just walk up and shoot Scaramanga in the face? And in a movie, this doesn't work, right? You can't jump into Bond's head, but literally Bond's just like, I don't know. It's too easy, but Bond, that's your mission is to go there and just shoot the guy. Yeah. But that's boring. Bond wants a little excitement, and he almost gets fucking killed, of course. So it's funny, but you can't get away with that outside of a novel.
No,
this is good. I'm going through entire chapters where I didn't highlight anything. Okay, but they did. Any fellas interlude? Any comment?
Trying to find a picture of me with John Travolta.
Do you have a picture with him?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
I worked on this thing. I worked on a television show, if you call it that, with with JT.
Sweet. When was
Hold
that?
on. This was in 2000.
Completely out of
I've been
focus.
doing it like the boomer way of doing this. I'm like, here, it's a photo of me. Here he
Dude,
is.
do you have
Oh, wow.
shoulder length hair?
Yeah.
Wow. Bring that back, dude. I never saw that.
I'm good. I'm
Um,
good.
So you know how
Charlie
certain
Espy said you look like Travolta at the same
Yeah. And I was like, I don't see it, and that's why.
Actually, if you were to zoom in, I have all these scratches all over my face because I got in a fight with a 2-year-old who just
Those are
demolished
fun.
me.
I
Like full
like
on
those.
2-year-old toddler fight. It was fantastic. But luckily the camera's far enough away. I should be just pulling out of focus, because I look, if you look up close, it looks like I've been doing meth and like scratching imaginary spiders off, But
I thought you'd been doing meth, actually.
sometimes.
I mean, you're like
Never
come on.
before a show, but okay, you know how like impressions, right? Like to do an impression of somebody, there's sometimes like a key phrase that will unlock it. Like
Yeah.
for example, Michael Caine, you say my cocaine,
Marco Kine.
my cocaine, my cocaine.
Just
Oh boy, a whole
like-
pile of treats.
Exactly. Like you need
That's how I do
something to
Mickey
get you
Mouse.
into the impression.
I have to do that to get into Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, my my buddies for John Travolta is strawberry milk. It's strawberry milk. Hey, strawberry milk.
The rubber hose.
Some strawberry milk. And it really does. It gets you into Travolta.
Yeah, Travolta's
fantastic.
interesting guy.
Dude, he just
Very
he's a cool
interesting.
guy. I mean, I've never met him, and anytime you
I
talk
will
about
tell you
celebrity,
others-
it's
I
like,
can
of
tell you
course you're going to
stories.
think they're great because they got a good
Yeah.
PR team to convince you. But he seems cool.
Okay, the nice thing I'll say about him. It's not like he was a bad guy. He was not a bad guy. The nicest thing I'll say about him though is that he had his assistant tell because I was in the AD department and told our AD is like yeah, if you guys have anything you want to get signed, posters, DVDs, whatever, just like leave it in his trailer and then he'll sign it. And it was like his trailer that he brought, I guess. It wasn't like a regular trailer that
Which
the
makes
production
sense.
had. Yeah. So I left.
did he fly himself to set?
He did. Well, he did come. I guess he was living in. I guess he lives in Florida. I guess
Hmm.
maybe.
I know he
Maybe I shouldn't
has
say
like
that.
an airport or some crap.
He has. Yeah, but
Bring
apparently
him to the cabin. Maybe he'll do this like shoot with us. And
I
that's
mean,
the name of the
maybe.
movie. Just the shoot.
Just shoot the shoot.
The shoot. And it's
Anyway,
just
he
all of us shooting each other with guns and cameras.
But I did get. What did I get signed? I got. If you've seen the movie Blowout, Brian De
I don't think so.
Palma. It's like one of his.
Negative.
It's a Brian De Palma. You should watch it. It's great. If you've seen the movie Blow Up or The Conversation, it's very similar to both those
Okay.
movies. But basically, it's John Travolta plays a sound recordist for like movies, like really schlocky movies, and he is out at night recording, and there's this blowout from a tire, and he hears it, and he's like, "Wait a minute, that there was like gunshot, then a blowout." So he heard it, and then it turns out there's like a political figure who was about to get elected dies in this car crash, and he's like, no, like this, someone tried to kill him, like someone killed him, and nobody believes him. But it's a political thriller, and it's got John Lithgow and Nancy. What the?
Is it older
Brian
or
De Palma's
younger?
wife. It's what?
Is he older or younger in it?
This is early Travolta. Like this is like after
interesting.
he did Cotter,
Fever?
and I don't know if it was after or before. No, it was 1980. So I don't know if it was after Saturday Night Fever.
Okay.
But it's a Brian De Palma movie. You should definitely check it out. It's a good movie.
Also check out
but
Saturday
I got
Night
that
Fever.
signed.
We agree.
Saturday
Yeah.
Night Fever makes me want to unbutton a little bit.
Oh, we should all
I'll-
unbutton,
I'll-
right? I don't know why we're talking about John Travolta just because someone said you look like him.
SP really wanted us to talk about John Travolta.
Up your nose like the rubber hose.
Yeah. How's that?
Before we got
is-
off the book, Joe was asking if we got to the part where Scaramanga shoots the crows yet.
Yes, Nico. John Lithgow should have been a Bond villain. Yes. Charlie, you need to watch this movie.
That was
I'm
not the
surprised
answer
you've
to
never
the
seen
question,
it.
but anyway. Oh, you guys are reading two different comments. I just want to know
Yes.
if SB is under his bed sheets with a flashlight like he said he would be. But anyway,
What?
belly lick, etc. Okay. But they didn't at all like the outlook. Oh yeah, he does shoot crows. He shoots crows. We may have passed that point. I think that's when we
Okay.
meet him. Actually, when
Because
we,
he was saying there's not a lot to highlight. They just kind of hang out in a hotel for a while. Unless we haven't gotten there yet.
literally the story is just like go to a hotel, meet him, like go to like a weird place, like maybe like a voodoo place or something, meet him, go to a hotel, there's like investors, and then they're on a train and there's a shootout, and that's it. Like it's really, I remember finishing the book being like, thank God that's over with, and there isn't that much there, and it's kind of weird. But I think the
pretty
first thing
pissing
he
again.
does, the very first thing he does is shoot some crows. He's just showing off to Bond how cool he is. And again, he doesn't shoot one bullet. He has 6 because he's using this Colt 45.
Is this kind of
So,
like a is
I
this
believe
kind
it
of like a
shoots 6 and not
Goldfinger
5.
scene?
But
Charlie, would
Goldfinger
you
scene.
say it's like a Goldfinger scene? You know, like when he's doing the golf scene.
They do. They're kind of like showing. Bond gets in.
But
with
I
him.
mean, he's
that's the whole
showing off,
thing.
yeah.
Bond gets in with him. So I think maybe Bond shoots something too. They're like showing off to each other or whatever. Just Scaramanga just like, this is how awesome I am with my gold dick, and Bond's like, nice gold dick, bro. Like that's cool. And then they're he's like working for Scaramanga. Like he's just pretending to be in with him. So I mean, there you go. That happens with Goldfinger in the book too. Bond's like, instead of killing me, you should put me to work. You should bring me into Operation Grand Slam. So Bond literally becomes a secretary for Goldfinger during Grand Slam. It's a little different from the movie. Okay. But they didn't at all like the outlook for James Bond. Felix commanded him. Felix is here. Now, don't you move an inch without that old equalizer of yours. We don't want to have to read that obituary of yours in the Times all over again. All that crap about what a splendid feller you are nearly made me throw up when I saw it reprinted in the American Blats.
Oh, crap.
I damn near fired off a piece to the Trib, putting the record straight. Yeah, I think they're in the
Trib.
Usually typical Felix thing. Like he comes in and Bond's like, I recognize this guy, and then they go off to the bathroom or something. And they're just,
Don't
let's
say
talk
it.
shop.
They say, I can't whistle. Can you?
Oh Lord,
What a weird, like,
this movie
Oh,
took a
God.
weird turn.
you would think
What
that
was-
it'd be the opposite. You think it'd be like, no, gay people whistle all the time. They're like super happy. That's why they're called gay. Just like whistling a fine tune as they're walking down the street. All right, then, King. Now listen to me. This isn't a Salvation Army fork supper. Mr. Scaramanga's friends want some action, and they want it hot. Oh, he's talking about chicks. I'll be sending plenty of rum over to loosen things up. Smoke weed if you like. We're private here. No one's going to tell on you. Nobody's going to tell on you. And get that pretty girl back, but with only half the clothes on. And tell her to come up close and sing Belly Lick very clearly with the blue words. And by the end of the show, she and the other girls got to end up stripped. Understand?
What the
Now
heck?
get cracking, or the evening will fold and there'll be no tips at the end. Okay, and then let's go. So I remember this. They have all all Scaramanga's guys. Like imagine the gangsters from Goldfinger, and they're all together, and they're like, "This party's boring. She needs to take half her clothes off. We need more booze and bring in more chicks, okay, and make it spiffy." It's hilarious, but it really is that. It's just like hanging out at a hotel. Mary Goodnight shows up in Bond's room, and then they're on a train. Oh wait, my stuff isn't loading. Oh God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
You might not finish the books.
I may have everything I just described. I may just like not have highlighted any of that because there wasn't anything fun from it. Bond strained his eyes. Yes, it was a naked pink body with golden blonde hair, a girl's body. So they're on the train, and on the tracks ahead, like an old Western, is it literally says right there, old Western.
What are the
is
blue
Mary
words?
Goodnight. What does that mean? Like maybe like all bluesy, like singing all bluesy. I don't know. Anyway, girl's body on the track. Scaramanga's voice boomed against
Sorry,
the
Joe.
wind. Folks, just a little surprise for you all. Something from the good old Western movies. Again, this whole movie kind of has this air of like a Western. There's a girl on the line ahead, tied across it. Take a look. And you know what? It's the girlfriend of a certain man we've been hearing of called James Bond. Would you believe it? And her name's Goodnight, Mary Goodnight. It's like this should be McCurdy's favorite thing ever that never happened. It sure is good night for her. If only that fellow Bond was aboard now. I guess we'd be hearing him holler for mercy. So Bond's sitting right there, and good old Mary Goodnight is tied to the tracks, and he's on the train that's gonna go kill her, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool.
I really at that point, it's like I think it ends up just being a dummy. And him and Bond, like literally they jump off the train or something. And then I think they just shoot at each other. And like that's
Joe
it.
Han.
That's
I love
pretty
Joe
much
Han's
exactly
comment.
what Joe just said.
Joe just said Joe's Han comments. There's not a lot to highlight in this book. Scaramanga shoots some crows. Bond doesn't shoot him in the back. They hang out in a hotel with Felix. Scaramanga jumps on a trampoline. Train scene. Duel.
Yeah.
End.
Duel. And I can't remember the duel, I think, is like there's something about a snake.
Sounds
Like-
so good.
Like, does he throw a snake at Bond? I don't even I didn't highlight anything because it's just all kind of again, by the time I finished the book, I was like, God, thank
But
God that's done.
I mean, to be fair, this book was like this book was released like after he died, right? Like this was
Yeah,
his,
like maybe he
he didn't. I mean, it sounds like he never actually like he finished it and maybe finished a draft and didn't have time to go back and tweak it because Kevin McClory killed him.
yeah. Which we can say legally because they're both dead now.
They're both dead.
They're both dead.
That's how that works.
Whatever.
He
but
totally, dude, Blofeld, real life Blofeld totally killed.
Or Fleming was right. McClory was right this whole time.
Oh yeah, he's like, wait, don't kill me yet. I'm Catholic. Can I say a prayer? And Bond's like, yeah, sure. And then I think Scaramanga throws a snake at him or something. I don't know. I didn't highlight any of this because I'm like, whatever. It's kind of weird. And I think he eats the snake. Like, does Scaramanga partially eat the snake?
Joe's apparently read this book. He knows the whole plot.
I mean, I read
Dies.
it and quickly
Train
forgot.
Dies.
Yeah. But I think, doesn't he like, Scaramanga like eats part of a snake, doesn't he? Or am I totally misremembering this? Anyway, let him comment, and I'm gonna move forward. Okay, Mary Goodnight's. So this is like after all's done.
Mhm.
Mary Goodnight's face became portentous. She said seriously, "Just listen to this." She read very carefully. She's got a weird voice. In view of the outstanding nature of the services referred to above and their assistance to the Allied cause, which is this is a telegram, so punctuation is words, which is perhaps more significant than you imagine, the Prime Minister proposes to recommend to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, R.I.P., the immediate grant of a knighthood. Wait, yeah, R.I.P., Queen Elizabeth.
That's so weird.
The
It's
immediate-
so weird. It's still weird to me.
She's been
That this
around
book was written so
long.
long ago, and
But no, it's weird that she's like
just passed.
a character. Not a character, but you know what I mean. It's just
Yeah.
weird.
The immediate grant of a knighthood. Stop. This to take and it's funny they stop instead of period, but I guess period is too many letters, so they say stop. A knighthood. So whatever.
like-
Give Bond a knighthood. This to take
Or
the
is it
form of the
like
addition.
military?
Yeah, maybe. This to take the form of the addition of a Katie as prefix to your Charlie Michael George. Okay, so that's a K as prefix to your CMG. James Bond uttered a defensive, embarrassed laugh. Good old Cypherins. They wouldn't think of putting KCMG. Much too easy. Go ahead, Mary. This is good. It's a common practice to inquire of proposed recipient whether he accepts this high honor before Her Majesty puts her seal upon it. Stop. Written letter should follow your cabled confirmation of acceptance paragraph. This award naturally, blah, blah, blah. Like, you have to accept it. James Bond, skipping ahead, James Bond wiped his forehead with the handkerchief. Of course, he was pleased, but above all, pleased with M's commendation. The rest, he knew, was not in his stars. He had never been a public figure, and he did not wish to become one. He had no prejudice against letters after one's name or before it, but there was one thing above all he treasured: his privacy, his anonymity. To become a public person, a person in the snobbish world of England, of any country, who would be called upon to open things, lay foundation stones, make after-dinner speeches, brought the sweat to his armpits. James Bond. No middle name, no hyphen, a quiet, dull, anonymous name, which obviously I highlighted because, that's Bond turning down a knighthood, which is great. And then also that's Ian Fleming describing why he selected the name James Bond. Remember, no middle name, no hyphen, a quiet, dull, anonymous name. Just like when he bit it from a ornithology book.
That's a mouthful.
Ornithology, huh? Mary Goodnight closed her book with a snap. She shook her head. Well, yeah. Wait, was there anything about? Was it Joe? Did you say anything about Scaramanga?
Yeah,
I swear the dude ate a snake or something. Did you say anything?
Joe didn't say shit.
No. Nancy, you searching?
No.
Oh, what are you surfing? Okay, moving on.
No, I'm gifting a membership again
Oh, nice.
to see if anyone takes this one because I don't think anyone took the previous one.
SB,
They're up
I'm
for
not
grabs,
doing
too.
mojitos.
I don't know what you have to do. Again, I don't know how it works. You have
I'm
to
not
Is anybody
doing-
here that's not a member?
I don't know. I think we got a couple. Who's Guartonium? Is he still
No.
Not doing
Uh,
mojitos, SB.
here?
Oh, wait.
That's-
Unknown Cake Lover, you're not
You
a
should know
member?
how to become a member.
Unknown Cake, you got to get in, bro.
Yeah,
You gotta
click
get in,
it or
bro.
I don't know what you do.
Uh,
Good luck.
Good night. And good luck.
What's Joe been saying?
Guartonium.
He's been talking to Unknown. Bond watches from the tree line as a wounded Scaramanga sat against a tree. Kills by shooting, I believe, a snake and eats it to regain some strength.
Yes.
It's a video game. Just
Exactly.
Eat random things and you get health.
Oh, which, by the way, we never put this up. So sorry about that, Nico. We should have done that right away. There you go. And now you can actually see the R. So just for penance, we're just going to leave that up for a while. Should have done that sooner. Okay. But yeah, so he eats a snake, and then, Bond's like, Bond lets him do his thing, and then, I don't know. I mean, I think they end up shooting each other. I mean, Bond almost dies again, and I almost remember him throwing the snake at Bond and then either trying to knife him or shooting him, but I should go back and look, but I'm not going to. I'm too far ahead. Mary Goodnight closed her book with a snap. She shook her head. The golden hair danced angrily. So again, it wasn't. I think it was like a mannequin laying in the road and not her in the railroad, not her. Well, really, James, are you sure you don't want to sleep on it? I knew you were in a bad mood today. You may have changed your mind by tomorrow. Don't you want to go to Buckingham Palace and see the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh and kneel and have your shoulder touched with a sword and the Queen to say, "Arise, Sir Knight," or whatever it is she says? Bond smiled.
All that crap.
Oh yeah, all that crap. I'd like to do all those things. He would be so wasted that whole time. That'd be awesome. I'd like to do all those things. The romantic streak of the SIS and of the Scott, for the matter of that. I just refuse to call myself Sir James Bond. I'd laugh at myself every time I looked in the mirror to shave. Just do it, dude. Who doesn't want to be a sir or something?
Yeah, it sounds cool to me.
Yeah, it's just not my line, Mary. The thought makes me positively shudder. I know Em will understand. He thinks much the same way about these things as I do. Trouble was, he had to more or less inherit his K with the job. Anyway, there it is. And it changed minds, whatever. Okay. Moving on. James Bond in the full possession of his senses, with his eyes wide open, his feet flat on the linoleum floor, stuck his head blithely between the mink-lined jaws of the trap. He said and meant it. Good night. You're an angel. Fuck you, McCurdy. At the same time, he knew deep down that love from Mary Goodnight, or from any other woman, was not enough for him. It would be like taking a room with a view. For James Bond, the same view would always pale. Pale? Shit. For James Bond, the same
You're
view
so
would always pale.
stupid.
Right? P-A-L-L, pale.
I don't know. I would have done the same thing, or worse.
What?
Misread that.
Yeah, I was like, damn it, which one is it? But yeah, pale. Bond is referring to women as a room with a view that never changes, and unless you go to a different room. Good old
Joe
James Bond.
says Bond fails to save the mannequin. So if it was good night, she totally would have died.
She would have died, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like Bond's on the train, and it's him against like a dozen guys. So yeah, like she would have been. And I think Scaramanga just did it so that Bond would blow his cover, and start shooting or whatever. But yeah, I'm just gonna pretend that Scaramanga threw the snake at him and then pulled a knife and threw it at Bond. Because I like that image. I don't know what the truth is. So I invite all of you to, oh yeah, that too. Affiliate links as usual in the description, but I doubt anyone's bought one of these books off the affiliate link. But as usual, if you want to,
I was gonna say you got to put the Bond bibliography or whatever down here. It's not in here.
Oh yeah, I should do that. But
and the Discord link.
It's too late. It's too late. But if you don't have these books and you do want to buy them, affiliate links would help us out. But otherwise, read them regardless because they're fun. The truth of the wait, this is Octopussy. Okay, so this is Octopussy, The Property of a Lady, The Living Daylights, and 007 in New York. The 4 books that make up Octopussy.
So let me ask you questions about each of these stories before you
Yeah.
start just babbling on about things I have no idea what you're talking about.
Nick, right? Just out of context stuff. It's fun.
You're just like, Bond watched as he saw the lady take her dress off. And I'm like, okay. It's like, isn't that cool, guys? Isn't that cool? And I'm like, uh-huh.
It's like so Bond.
He watched her take her clothes off.
Go on, McCurdy. What is your point?
Okay, so all right, let's see. Okay, we have 4. There's 4 stories in this.
Yes.
Okay. How close are they to any of the movies?
So
Or is it
Octopussy, they're all short stories. So
Yeah.
Octopussy is exactly what we talked about in that episode where we were saying wouldn't have been great if the PTS, the prologue,
Yeah.
had been about her dad. So we'd have some context about her dad.
Yeah.
And that would lend to the whole thing of like maybe she wants revenge, but then later she's like, no, actually I've always wanted to bang you because you gave my dad like an alternative, to court martial. Like you helped him kill himself. So the story in Octopussy is that Bond goes to meet that guy, that same guy who, she's obviously not in the book, but effectively the character who would be her dad and is like, hey, dude, I know you did this horrible thing. You stole this gold, but we'll come back in 24 hours. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And giving this guy time to off himself. And he just goes into the ocean and allows his pet octopus, who he named Octopussy, to pull him under and devour him.
Dang, that thing must be big.
And then now Joe is telling me, because Joe's read all these books, Joe is telling me the sniper sequence of the Living Daylights movie is basically the short story. Can you confirm?
Yes. And it, including it being a chick and, her being fine. And there's like, she's like a,
She play cello.
They leave. There's like a
chase
orchestra.
With the cello?
There's like an orchestra going on, and then they like the players would leave, and so. But what's fun about it is that Bond spends 3 whole days just like fixed to this window, waiting for this guy to defect and for the sniper to show up, and then it ends up being the cello player. I believe it's still a cello, and then Property of a Lady, nothing. 007 in New York, nothing. I don't.
There's like nothing that you can recall from any of the movies. Because isn't property? Because we talked about this at one time. Is property of a lady is like
Is in
mentioned a lot of-
Octopussy.
It's in Octopussy. Right?
Yeah. But like, to my recollection, there's nothing that's like, oh yeah, this thing. I mean, maybe there's eggs. I don't know. Maybe there's eggs, but
Yeah.
starting with Octopussy.
It's a part of the convoluted plot that we talked about in Octopussy.
Yeah,
that
how they
almost
combine
died.
these two
listening
things,
to.
and it hardly made any sense and all that. Was that SB that was like, I'm just got back from a New Year's Eve party and I'm drunk and I'm gonna watch Octopussy? Our episode of Octopussy, and
I don't know, man.
maybe
In
it
the
was SB, I
Discord
don't
or
know.
somewhere else?
In the Discord, and I was
Mm.
like, this is a good way to end a night. This is a good way to end a night. Okay, the truth of the matter was that Dexter Smythe, so this would be Octopussy's dad, but she doesn't exist. Yes, McCray.
Wait, Smythe. Why does that sound familiar? Sinjin Smythe?
St. John Smythe. St. John Smythe. Oh,
then
St. John
and then
Smythe
it's-
is a lot better than Mark Hazard.
And it's spelled out Saint John, but you're like, wait, is that
Yeah.
Saint John? No, it's like it's pronounced Sinjin.
Yep, St. John.
Interesting.
The truth of the matter was that Dexter Smythe had arrived at the frontier of the Death Wish. The origins of this state of mind were many and not all that complex. He was irretrievably tied to Jamaica. Here we are again. And tropical sloth had gradually riddled him so that while outwardly he appeared a piece of fairly solid hardwood, under the varnished surface, the termites of sloth, self-indulgence, guilt over an ancient sin, and general disgust with himself had eroded his once hardcore into dust. So this is a man who is, by the end of this short story, is going to kill himself. So it's like, on the outside, he looks like, oh, good for you. You're like some millionaire who lives in Jamaica now. But really, he got that money because he murdered this innocent German officer, military guy, in order to steal a bunch of, I think, Nazi gold, and then Bond gives him his comeuppance. But anyway, yeah, it starts with him like he's hanging out with Octopussy, just like in the ocean. He's like, "Oh, there's my favorite little like octopus that goes through here," and then he goes to meet up with Bond. But how did he get mixed up in the whole thing? MOB Force was a responsibility of my service. The papers found their way to us. I happened to see the file. I had some spare time on my hands. I asked to be given the job of chasing up the man who did it. This is Bond talking. Smythe says, why? James Bond looked Major Smythe squarely in the eyes. It just happened that Oberhauser was a friend of mine. He taught me to ski before the war when I was in my teens. He was a wonderful man. He was something of a father to me at a time when I happened to need one. So the reason Bond takes this assignment is because the guy who was killed was like a, ski instructor of Bond's, like when he was a kid. So like when he would have been, living as an orphan with his.
So Mr. White.
Well, that's the thing. Somebody commented that I think on one of our videos or on a Reddit post or something, where it's like in Octopussy you find out that like the Blofeld. I think he said Blofeld is in Octopussy, and I was like, I don't think so. I don't. No, it's like maybe they'd want you to believe that based off of the events of Spectre and or whatever, but it just says this. Like it's just Oberhauser was a guy he knew, and it has nothing to do with Blofeld. So I don't know what that dude was talking about, but yeah. So Bond.
Joe's saying Oberhauser is Inspector.
Is in the movie Spectre.
Well, that's what he says is equals Spectre. Blofeld's dad, Inspector. That's what he's saying.
So, okay. So, are we talking about two different things? In this book, in Octopussy, Oberhauser is just a guy who was just like a German military guy who happened to teach Bond how to ski. But then in the movie Spectre is the name of Blofeld's dad, Oberhauser. So, like, that's cool. That's a cool reference at that point. But that doesn't necessarily mean that in this short story
No.
that Oberhauser is the father of Blofeld. Like, that's only something that would,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's a neat
I
reference
just
in
think
the
that's
movie.
cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's a neat reference in the movie, certainly. Because it is, because that's tying two things together. It's like Bond's parents die in a climbing accident, and then that wasn't breathy enough. Alec Trevelyan, climbing accident, and then he goes to live in Skyfall or whatever.
We need
Or
Pierce
no,
Brosnan to do that.
Skyfall was where his biological parents were. Not
Yeah,
where
that was his estate that his parents are from.
Yeah, and then he went and
In
lived.
Scotland.
So according to Spectre, he went and lived with the Oberhausers. But again, in Octopussy, Oberhauser's just an old friend.
Yeah, Joe's saying yes. He's just
Okay.
saying that was a reference.
Yeah.
It was in that movie from this book.
It's a great reference.
Charlie is really
Shitty
about
ass
this reference.
movie. Great reference. Okay, Bond raised his eyebrows. Again, out of context. I don't know why Bond's raising his eyebrows, but we're gonna find out. Maria Freudenstein was a secret agent working for the Soviet KGB in the heart of the Secret Service. She was in the communications department, but in a watertight compartment of it that had been created especially for her. This is great. So in the British Secret Service, there's this KGB agent, and they all know she's a KGB agent. So they like made a room for her, right? Like they like invented this whole space where she thinks she's just a worker who is secretly working for the KGB, but it's like a whole setup, like the whole floor, like the whole office space is for her sake to trick her, which is so awesome. Like, this is what I mean. Like, this is the type of stuff that Bond could have done. They could have done fun shit like that, but instead we get goofy assassins and ski chase scenes every movie. But anyway, so she was in the communications department, but in a watertight compartment of it that had been created especially for her, and her duties were confined to operating the Purple Cipher, a cipher which had also been created especially for her. 6 times a day, she was responsible for encoding and dispatching lengthy situation reports in this cipher to the CIA in Washington. These messages were the output of Section 100, which was responsible for running double agents. They were an ingenious mixture of true fact, harmless disclosures of an occasional nugget of the grossest misinformation. There was no and in there. Yeah. Okay. Harmless disclosures and an occasional nugget of the grossest misinformation. Maria Freudenstein, who had been known to be a Soviet agent when she was taken into the service, had been allowed to steal the key to the Purple Cipher with the intention that the Russians should have complete access to these sitreps, be able to intercept and decipher them, and thus, when appropriate, be fed false information. It was a highly secret operation which needed to be handled with extreme delicacy, but it had now been running smoothly for 3 years, and if Maria Freudenstein also picked up a certain amount of canteen gossip at headquarters, that was a necessary risk. And she was not attractive enough to form liaisons, which could be a security risk. As usual, you gotta love how just like when it comes to this war, the whole idea of like it's on the inside what counts. They're like, no, fuck all that. We need to hire like attractive people who can use their bodies to get information. And then with this chick, it's like, yeah, she's fugly. Maria Freudenstein is fugly. We don't need to worry about her any like loose lips sink ships with her. They're very realistic when it comes to life and death situations, such as in Secret Service operations. Good times. So I'm in Property of a Lady. I don't know when Octopussy ended, but
what about what about Living Daylights? So Living Daylights is,
well, we haven't gotten there yet.
How many books are we trying to cover?
There's 4. Okay, this
there are
is
4. There are 4 in
short
one book.
Stories.
4 short stories in one book.
So wait,
Yeah.
Now tell us what. So you're in Property of a Lady.
Yeah.
Right. What is
Yeah.
Property of a Lady about?
Uh,
Jog my memory.
Shit, if I remember. So far, it's just talking about Maria Freudenstein. And then let's see if I highlighted anything. So Bond goes to Sotheby's. Is that how you say it? Sotheby's? Sotheby's?
I think so,
Sure.
but I don't know.
Don't ask me.
He picked up an Unclair file. He had freedom of access to the most material at headquarters and ran his eye down carefully edited paragraphs that in a half an hour or so would be spiked unread by some junior CIA clerk in Washington and in Moscow be handed with reverence to a top-ranking officer of the KGB. He joked with the two junior girls, but Maria Freudenstein only looked up from her machine to give him a polite smile, and Bond's skin crawled minutely at this proximity to treachery and at the black and deadly secret locked up beneath the frilly white blouse. She was an unattractive girl with a pale, rather pimply skin, black hair, and a vaguely unwashed appearance. Such a girl would be unloved, make few friends, have chips on her shoulder, more particularly in view of her illegitimacy, and a grouse against society. Perhaps her only pleasure in life was the triumphant secret she harbored in that flattish bosom. The knowledge that she was cleverer than all those around her, that she was every day hitting back against the world that despised or just ignored her because of her plainness with all her might. One day they'd be sorry. One day they'd be sorry. It was a common neurotic pattern, the revenge of the ugly duckling on society. That's good shit. God damn, that's good shit. So I can't remember. Like, they're talking about Sotheby's, they're talking about selling stuff. I don't remember. It's like,
Well, Joe's saying that it's the everything that with the auction scene in Octopussy is
Yeah.
kind of what they do in Property of a Lady.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because that's what they kind of talked about. But then that made the whole plot super convoluted, and it's like he's buying the diamonds, but they're gonna put a bomb, and then
but wait, we can just print all the money we want. So who cares?
who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's all I checked off. So again, for me to reacquaint myself, I'd have to skim this, and I'm just not going to do that again. Go use the affiliate link, buy a book, then drink more beer and read it. Drink a lot of whiskey and read these books, and just
I've
get
been
into
drinking
it.
that
Just get into it.
Johnny Walker read.
Dude, I don't understand why you're not touching that Apple Crown. Okay, The Living Daylights.
How much was in that when you started?
Oh, I haven't drank that much of this.
Okay.
This is good though, man. I like the taste of this. This is good.
Oh, I'd take it. I don't
This
have
is
any.
good
I
stuff.
drank up all the whiskey in the house. I'm very.
This
sad.
is good. Like, now this isn't Black Label, which is like a little more expensive.
Well,
This
that's
is like
I have a bad experience with Johnny Walker, so
this is like the cheap Johnny Walker, but I feel like this is appropriate to mix. I don't know if you'd mix Black Label.
you can do whatever you want.
I mean, you could, but some people would frown upon it.
Okay. Living Daylights. This was going to be bad news, dirty news, and he didn't want to hear it from one of the section officers or even from the chief of staff. This was to be murder. All right, let M bloody well say so. Where do you come in, 007? M looked coldly across the desk. You know where you come in. You've got to kill this sniper. And you've got to kill him before he gets 272, that's all. Is that understood? The clear blue eyes remained cold as ice, but Bond knew that they remained so only with an effort of will. M didn't like sending any man to a killing, but when it had to be done, he always put on this fierce, cold act of command. Bond knew why. It was to take some of the pressure, some of the guilt off the killer's shoulder. That's good. That's good. That's, again, how do you convey that in a movie? You can't. The fact that you know, inside of M's head, he's like helping Bond out. Like, Bond, I know you don't like killing in cold blood, so I'm gonna command you to do it, and then you can blame me a little bit to kind of like, you know, help you with your again. That's why there's a joke I made about that's why Bond tells Bond jokes, because he doesn't like killing in cold blood. So sometimes he's got to go murder people, and then he's like, followed up with a joke. It makes me feel better, you know. It's no big deal. It's funny. It's funny.
What?
Hey.
Hey.
Bond lit the gas cooker, burned the message with a sneer at his profession, and then brewed himself a vast dish of scrambled eggs and bacon. So Bond is just like hanging out in this apartment, making his favorite food, black coffee and bacon and eggs and toast, and just waiting for this sniper. And that's the thing. It's like, I know they just took this and made it it wasn't the prologue, right? No, yeah, For Your Eyes Only was The Living Daylights was we have the prologue, but then after the title sequence, we do this scene with the sniper, and it's just like a short scene, but
I thought it
it's
was
the
like
whole
farther
story
into the
here.
movie.
It's like 3 days. Well, yeah, you have the Rock of Gibraltar title sequence, and then it opens with the
I thought there was a little
Bond's
bit more.
late.
It's been a while since.
But that's what it is. That's what it is. We go right into the Koskov, Koskov's girlfriend, and bacon, which he heaped on buttered toast and washed. Oh God, it sounds so good. Eggs and bacon heaped on buttered toast and washed down with black coffee, into which he had poured a liberal tot of whiskey. I mean, I'm telling you, like Cabin in the Woods, reading these books, it's all he was eating: bacon and eggs and black coffee with whiskey in it.
Oh,
and editing these videos. Anyway, then he bathed and shaved, dressed in the drab, anonymous Middle European clothes he had brought over for the purpose, looked at his disordered bed, decided to hell with it, and went down in the lift and out of the building. I don't know where he's going because I didn't highlight anything. Moving forward, back in the apartment, punctually at 5, Bond narrowly averted a row with Captain Sender. So he's like with a guy in there. Just it's not Saunders, but it's like a guy.
I hated that guy.
That they're just kind of like an equivalent douchebag because he had poured himself.
You can't do that, Bond.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I've declared with London. Back in the apartment, punctually at 5, Bond narrowly averted a row with Captain Sender because he had poured himself a stiff whiskey before putting on the hideous cowl that now stank of his sweat. So Captain Sender's like, stop drinking. We have a job to do. And he's like, steadies my hand, bitch. Captain Sender had tried to prevent him, and when he failed, had threatened to call up head of... Yeah, look how steady McCurdy's hand is. Had threatened to call up head of station and report Bond for breaking training. Look, my friend, said Bond warily, I've got to commit a murder tonight. Not you, me. I got to commit a murder tonight. So be a good chap and stuff it, would you? You can tell Tangeray, I can't remember who that is, anything you like when it's over. Think I like this job, having a 00 number and so on? I'd be quite happy for you to get me sacked from the 00 section. Then I could settle down and make a snug nest of papers as an ordinary staffer, right? Bond drank down his whiskey, reached for his thriller, now arriving at an appalling climax, and threw himself on the bed. So Bond's just getting drunk and reading a book. I mean, again, and that's the thing. Like I remember reading this and being like, this is kind of fun. Bond is just, it's 3 days. It's not one exciting night. It's 3 days of just sitting around. It's like, to like extrapolate this into a feature would have been stupid on their part, but that would have been fun. That would have been cool. Just hanging out with Bond for 3 days as he's got to just do this weird mission.
It's that, it's, do you, knowing that you've been out in the woods and hunted them deers, do you like them deers? Do you read this and you're like, man, this is what it's like?
I was probably reading this in a tree stand.
Yeah.
Back then.
You're like, oh, this is exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Just, if I was
beef jerky.
If I was shameful, I'd say I was drinking whiskey, but I don't do that while I'm hunting. But
yeah,
if I was more like Bond, and I'd have a chick in there in the tree with me, that's drunk as hell with bacon and eggs and bitches and toast and whiskey, taking a deer. James Bond said warily, okay, with any luck, it'll cost me my 00 number. But tell head of station not to worry. That girl won't do any more sniping. Probably lost her left hand. Certainly broke her nerve for that kind of work. Scared the living daylights out of her. In my book, that was enough. Go.
Oh, he said it.
Ooh wee. Yep.
He said it.
So, and that's where that really is like that. Like the whole short story is that whole opening of the movie. So like prologue, title sequence, and then the short story. And then from there, a bunch of shit that Mike G. Wiz came up with. Because he's crazy.
He just probably snorted a lot of cocaine.
Oh, here we go. Okay. This I highlighted because I thought this was funny. Okay, so this is 007 in New York, which I have.
It's the last of the. Okay, wait.
This
So
is
you don't
it.
remember what this movie's about, or this?
No, not
Okay,
at all.
I'm gonna read a brief tale in which Bond muses about New York City and his favorite recipe for scrambled eggs.
Exactly.
He's on a quick-
The only thing I've highlighted is his fucking recipe for scrambled eggs, and that's the end of the book. It's the
It says
very end of
here-
the book.
It says here he's on a quick mission to the titular city to warn a female MI6 employee that her new boyfriend is a KGB agent. And then it says it is notable for including a rare humorous conclusion and for its mention of Solange, a young lady of Bond's intimate acquaintance who worked in a shop, Abercrombie's, appropriately employed in their indoor games department.
Solange. Remember Solange?
Solange.
Is, they named that chick the horse beach babe in Casino Royale is Solange. Horse beach babe.
Horse beach babe. Okay, so sorry. Tell us about the scrambled eggs.
The only thing I
dying to know.
highlighted was James. It's okay. So scrambled eggs, James. It's literally called scrambled eggs, James Bond. So that if you make these eggs, it's scrambled eggs, James Bond, like eggs
right.
Benedict, scrambled eggs, James Bond, for 4 individualists. For 4 individualists. So that's saying this is for 4 people. 12 fresh eggs, salt and
Okay.
pepper, 5
Okay.
to 6 ounces of fresh butter. Okay, so nothing complicated. 12 eggs, salt and pepper, 6 ounces fresh butter. Break the eggs into a bowl. Beat thoroughly with a fork and season
it.
well.
Okay.
Probably with the salt and pepper. In a
Which
small,
is weird. That's weird. I'll tell you why that's weird, but keep going.
I put salt on eggs. I don't put pepper on.
I'll
anything.
do the salt and pepper, but I wait till after. Because if you do it before, it's gonna
I
make
think
the
that's
eggs
what
look-
Gordon Ramsay said.
Yeah.
Don't put salt in until after you've cooked.
Don't
the
do salt and pepper
Okay.
until after the recipe. But anyway, whatever.
Any reason why?
It looks
It's better.
it's
Like it would sit on top of it.
no,
right?
if you beat the
Okay.
eggs, if you put the eggs in and you beat
Okay.
them and then you put salt and pepper in and then you pour that mixture and then heat that up, it's gonna look gross. Like
Okay.
it's just gonna mix in.
So
I
you want
think
to
it's more than
salt it
looks.
before serving?
I think the salt tightens it up or something.
Yeah, I might
forget
do
what
that
he
too.
said.
Okay. Break the eggs into a bowl.
Make
beat
your
thoroughly
eggs
with a
salt
fork and-
after.
Beat the eggs with a fork and season thoroughly with a fork and season well. In a small copper or heavy bottomed saucepan, melt 4 ounces of the butter. When
Okay.
melted, pour in the eggs and cook over a very low heat, whisking continuously with a small egg whisk.
Okay.
While the eggs are slightly more moist than you would wish for eating, remove pan from heat, add rest of butter, and continue whisking for half a minute, adding the while finely chopped chives or fine herbs. You didn't put that in the ingredients list. Serve on hot buttered toast in individual copper dishes for appearance only with pink champagne, Taittinger champagne, and low music.
Or dubstep.
And that's it. That is the end of 14 books. Is that recipe?
How to make eggs.
How to make scrambled eggs. Yeah. Scrambled eggs, James Bond.
Interesting.
So that's our next live stream.
I think Bond.
We're going to
should
make
be
scrambled
an
eggs, James
over-
Bond.
We should go to we'll
sunny
set up
side
a
up
camera at your
egg.
house, Charlie, and we'll
Yeah.
make Bond scrambled eggs drinking whiskey.
If we're ever all together, we're going to get pink champagne and we're going to make scrambled eggs, James Bond, and play pool. That sounds, and we'll put the James Bonds on the wall as we do it. The blue bonds. But otherwise, it only took 5 live streams in, I don't know, 15 hours, but we got through all the books, fellas.
Yay!
And maybe people, I mean, I read these over a year ago at this point, so I bet
Cooking in the
nobody
cabin with
learned
Charlie.
anything because I couldn't remember anything about them, but except for like throwing snakes and eating snakes and stuff like that. But as you again, I just
House.
like they're easy reads, they're fun reads. And what I did, I got the whole on iBooks. I got the whole. It was like $40 for all the books in one. It's like 3,000 pages. well, the pages change as you change the size of the words and stuff, but all one document, you know, and so all done.
Thank God.
I'm gonna eat some
Yeah.
eggs after this.
Yeah,
I wish I had eggs.
I
I
love
have
some
eggs.
eggs.
I wanna make
I
a-
really
eggs this
have to
morning.
pee.
Burrito, breakfast burrito.
I have to pee.
K1 says he hasn't finished my second
so
brew.
bad.
Well,
What?
I need to get up in the
Gotta
morning,
drink
but
fast, K1.
It's only 10 o'clock.
I still got to get up.
Wow.
And I got to go make some eggs. I'm hungry, man. I wanted that pizza. Talking about
Lily,
pizza.
babe, eggs. Did you text her
Espy's
already?
like, rant time. What's there to rant about?
Rant
The
time.
books. There's nothing to rant about. They're the books.
Well, let's just now that we're donezo, once again, Nico, for your Danish croutons. Thank you. We love you. But yeah, going forward, that's we want to do this every week, and where it's not me boringly reading
So
somebody else's
boring.
books for 2 hours.
All right, let's just be Charlie.
we're
for
gonna
2
talk
minutes real
about
quick.
really shitty movies that Hollywood puts out. It's gonna be great.
Every
It's gonna be great.
Sunday.
I think it's a fine name, said Bonds. An
We'll
idea
attempt.
struck him. Can I borrow it? He explained about the special martini he had invented in his search for a name for it. The Vesper, he said. It sounded perfect, and it's very appropriate to the violet hour when my cocktail will now be drunk all over the world. Can I have it? So long as I can try one first, she promised. It sounds a drink to be proud of. Well, have one together when all this is finished, said Mon. Win or lose. And now you have to decide what would you like to have for dinner.
What is happening?
Please
I don't know.
be
He suddenly got
expensive.
super drunk.
I have to pee
I'm-
so bad. If you want to keep
just
reading,
pulled
I
out-
might go pee.
I just pulled out Casino Royale and started reading. And
Yeah,
it's the
I kinda-
scene
I
where
kinda
he's
wanna-
making the drink.
Yeah, I kind of want to reread. And it is the same thing in the book, right? He just makes it up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Bond
he
Encyclopedia by
I love a
Corp
glass of
and
vodka. She said simply and
Stotts.
went back to her study of the menu. A small Chevrolet vodka, very cold, ordered Bond. He
I
said,
have a Bond encyclopedia. Yeah, it's called James Bond Encyclopedia. I don't know if it's by Cork and Stotts, but anyway, yeah. Going forward, we want to do this every week. Hope you all can join. But if you can't, because Sunday nights aren't good with you, I think what I'm going to try to do is StreamYard records your, broadcast,
Oh yeah.
and then I'll just take that and upload that to the members only to do.
we should give it a
ad-free.
name, though. We
But no-
should
but,
give
but,
this.
but sorry, but for ad free, like just
Yeah.
if you're a member and you don't watch it the night of,
Yeah.
I'll re-upload it so it'll be up where it's just like automatically has ads on it, but then I'll upload it to the members only where it doesn't have ads, and hopefully that's something of value to some of y'all out there with golden guns next to your names.
So, but we should. I do think we
Ranked
should-
2023, 2023
I-
ranked.
No,
Keep it simple.
no, it's stupid.
Kiss.
It's
Keep it
dumb.
simple.
Yeah, we need a good name.
Stuckwad.
We need a better name than that. Come on, we had 2 brews.
Well-
we could.
But it makes
They-
sense. We're ranking the movies of 23.
Yeah. I mean, we can workshop it, but and if
No,
any
let's
of you have
workshop
any
it, baby.
ideas, but otherwise,
Ranking the movies.
You know.
RTM 023.
Oh
RTM
my God,
023.
kill me right now.
RTM 023.
Get fucked.
Well,
call
any
the
last words,
show-
fellas? Because this
Oh,
needs to come out of me.
come
Well, you
out
gotta
of you.
chug that, then you can.
All right.
go-
Well, wait. Are we gonna toast to Ian Fleming once
To
more?
Ian Fleming. Once
I
again.
already
Ian-
finished my beer.
Fleming. Oh, you already finished your beer.
Well, out of
All right.
respect for Ian Fleming, suckle some of the droplets at the bottom of the glass.
Yeah.
It's in the
Look,
rest-
Ian
droplets.
Fleming, thanks, sir.
Ian
You
Fleming,
wrote some
thank
good
you.
ass books. Sorry that fucker killed you.
I'm sorry, I
Evan
don't
McClory.
read.
There's every time I'm like, hey Nance, you should read this book. He's like, I don't read books.
What's a book?
Exactly. So,
What's a book?
all right, Nance, you get the last word.
What do you want from me?
That's good enough.
We just want to